have had this experience before this week. Because just this week, just this year, we've lost 40 people in our city to gun violence. 40 people in just over 100 days. Part of our purpose today is to acknowledge all of them and the people mourning and missing each of them. We have many wise and wonderful speakers today who will give their perspective on that process, because it's important that we take time to acknowledge those losses and what they mean for us as people and as a community. We have to do that so that later we can gather our energies and focus on preventing these tragedies. There will be a time to act, to take steps in honor of those we've lost, and to channel our grief and pain into meaningful action. That day is coming. Today is to mourn, to lean on each other and support each other. This is a time to ask each other, how are you doing? What do you need? And to really listen and really respond. To answer honestly when someone asks you those questions. We were not meant to go through tough times alone. And luckily, we don't have to. We've seen that this week as well. In the darkness of this week, I am so grateful to the people who have brought light and love, hope and compassion. I'm talking about the police officers who risk their lives to save others, the medical teams who save lives on the scene and in the hospital, the Metro 911 call takers and dispatchers who helped get our first responders on the scene fast enough to save lives. And a special thanks to the social workers, counselors, faith leaders, teachers, and others who have provided comfort and guidance to people in need throughout all of this. Thank you all. And to those who care for others, please take care of yourselves as well. We are here for you, too. We have to all be here for each other, all of us. So to everyone, thank you for coming. Let's continue to lean on and support each other in this moment of mourning and remembering, and in all of our days ahead. Thank you all very much. Governor Beshear.
Tommy, Josh, Juliana, Jim, Deana, fathers, mothers, grandparents, children, friends, each one a child of God. These are irreplaceable Kentuckians taken far too soon by a senseless act of violence that is certainly making me feel heartbroken, and I think all of us torn. Acts like this tear at the very fabric of humanity, of who we are, and certainly of who we want to be. It's in situations like this that we ask, how? How do we possibly move through this? Well, I think the answer we've learned these last several years is together. We are one Commonwealth, united with Louisville and the families impacted on Monday. Let's love them with every single bit of our hearts today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, and in the decades to come. And let's give thanks to our heroes across the city. I lost one of my best friends on Monday, but I've got two friends and more that survived because LMPD got there in about 3 minutes. I want to thank you all. By now, if you can, and I struggle, you maybe watch that body cam footage that shows these heroes rushing directly in without pause, without regards to their own safety because they knew lives were on the line. Heroes like LMPD officer Nicholas Wilt, who's fighting for his very life for doing the right thing. And officers like C.J. Galloway, who, after being hit himself, stayed until the entire scene was secured. They did that for us, for our friends, for people we care about, and for our loved ones. I give them thanks, personally, for their selflessness, for their bravery, and I pray, and I hope everybody else joins me praying for Officer Wilt's healing. We thank our first responders and law enforcement agencies, EMS, Emergency Management, Louisville Fire, the Kentucky State Police, Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, Louisville Field Division, and the FBI for their support. Just stopping that gunman was the first battle. I want to thank all our healthcare heroes at U of L Health that have done their very best to keep people alive. Dr. Jason Smith and I have been friends for a while. We battled COVID together. And I know his people are trying the very best for Officer Wilt. They tried their very best for Deana. And because of their work, there are people alive here and our EMTs and so many others. To anybody who risked themselves, who provided that medical attention right there, that rushed to the aid of a friend, that helped somebody get out, we are so grateful. God bless you. What we need right now, in one word, is love. In a world where we hear a lot of arguments, a lot of anger, where people try to appeal to hatred and division, how about just love? Love for one another, love for even those we disagree with, answering words of anger with words of love. One responsibility that I know I have is to focus and lift up my friend Tommy and his family, and the families and loved ones of Josh, Juliana, Jim, Deana. Love, compassion, humility, empathy. They've got to be able to lead us to a better place. While my faith is tested, and it may be even shaken, I do believe. And I still believe. I believe in a loving God that one day will explain to me how this can happen. And I believe in heaven, which means that while the body is mortal, the soul is eternal. And Tommy, I will see you again, and we will see all of these incredible individuals again. And I was asked earlier today what I'd learned, and it's a hard question right now. I admit that while I'm not angry, I'm empty. And I'm sad. And I just keep thinking that maybe we'll wake up. What I know is I just wish I'd taken an extra moment, made an extra call, told him how much I cared about him. And I know we are all feeling the same, but I also know that they hear us now and that they feel our love. So when you go home from here, hug your families, call your friends, tell them how much you care about them. Because one thing that I know that we can do is we can live for the fallen, and we can live better for them. We can be better. We can be better family members, better dads, better moms. We can be better community members, and we can be better people. Let's commit that to them. God bless. Thank you all very much.
The next three voices that you will hear will be that of Dr. Mohammed Barber, a community leader, followed by Jim Ryan, the CEO of Old National Bank, and then thirdly, followed by Congressman Morgan McGarvey. Dr. Mohammed Barber.
Dear brothers and sisters, as a physician, I deal death on almost daily basis. Quite frequently, I have to console families after the loss of their loved ones. I try to relate their loss sometimes as a natural progression of human life journey and sometimes just a will of good Lord. But today, standing next to the sacred space belonging to the most articulate, compassionate, and beloved son of Louisville, Muhammad Ali, I am having tough time to find words to console the victims, the survivors, and the loved ones of this senseless act of violence. Like you all, I'm really fatigued and frustrated on this non-stop vicious cycle of deadly shootings in our nation. Like you all, I'm dead tired of posting hollow words and prayers on the social media after each incident of mass shooting. Therefore, today I just want to plea you all and the leaders of our great nation that it does not matter whether you are a Republican or a Democrat, whether you live in urban spaces or rural communities, whether you own a gun or not, please do something, because we all just want this epidemic of death to end, which is wearing down our nation. I know that we all bleed red. I know that we all want our children to be safe in their schools. I know that we all want our loved ones to return home every evening for supper. So when we share same aspirations and hopes, then why we cannot agree on finding solutions to curb this endless cycle of violence? And before we finally decide to do something, what it's going to take. How many more innocent children have to die? How many more fathers like our own Josh Barrick have to make next journey without being there for his young two children to see them grow up? How many grandparents like Juliana Farmer have to pass away before seeing their unborn grandchild? How many more good citizens like James Tutt, Deana Eckert, and my beloved friend Tommy Elliot have to depart this world without saying goodbye to their loved ones and leaving them behind in this madness with unanswered questions? And how many more parents like Todd and Lisa Sturgeon need to mourn and live while carrying a burden of regrets on their human hearts? How many more first responders like Officer Nicholas Wild have to pay price for our collective sin of inaction? Brothers and sisters, I understand mass shootings are a complex issue which needs a multi-pronged approach. But while we Americans have conquered space and improved human lives with our mind-boggling medical and scientific innovations, then why we can't find a solution to this cancer of mass shootings, which is eating away our children, adults, and seniors at a lightning speed? So tonight, I am begging to our whole nation to do something. I am begging to Presidents Biden and Trump, Senators McConnell and Schumer, Speaker Osborne, President Stivers, Governor Beshear, and whoever is listening out there in this universe to do something, as we cannot continue this business as usual. Living in fear is not a life that our children and their children deserve. So please, please, please do something. Thank you.
Good evening. I can't tell you how important and appreciated your support is right now. There are no adequate words to describe what happened Monday morning. There are no adequate words to describe the pain the victims' families are feeling right now. There are no adequate words to describe the heartbreak our Old National family is feeling. A number of our team members are here tonight, and many others are with us live stream across our footprint. To all of you, please know that we will get through this together. We are here to remember and celebrate the lives of 5 members of the Old National family and to wrap our arms around and grieve with all of those who loved and cared for them. Josh Barrick, Deana Eckert, Tommy Elliot, Juliana Farmer, Jim Tutt. Make no mistake, these were extraordinary people. They were loving, generous, and gifted. They poured themselves out every day in service of others. We have come together to celebrate their lives and also say to their family members, we are here for you today and into the future. We are also here to pray for and support all of those who are injured. This includes the 2 Louisville Metro police officers who risked their lives to save others, and it also includes other members of our Old National family. To the families of these and friends of these individuals, please know we are here to pray with you and for you and to support you in any way. I also want to share that we have been overwhelmed with the outpouring of love, care, and support from individuals and organizations across the country. To each and every one of you, thank you. On behalf of everyone at Old National, I also want to acknowledge and thank those who have come to the aid of our O&B family over the past 3 days. This includes the Louisville Metro Police Department and the brave and heroic officers who are at the scene in minutes. I also want to acknowledge the great work of the FBI. Secondly, I want to thank the entire Louisville medical community, especially those first responders and the staff at the University Louisville Health. You truly are heroes. Thank you, Mayor Greenberg. Your team has been fantastic. Thank you, Governor Beshear. The same, your team and outreach has been absolutely incredible to each and every one of us. I also want to thank the Red Cross for all that you do, and thank you for those that have given the gift of life. If you're looking for a way to honor those victims in this tragedy, giving blood is a great option. Finally, I want to express my gratitude on behalf of all of us at Old National to the entire Louisville community, especially those religious and mental health community leaders. We couldn't do it without you. Words cannot express the passion and generous support that you've given us. And if I can offer one closing thought, it's this: the greatest way we can continue to honor everyone who has been impacted by this tragedy is do our best to follow their example. We need to love one another. We need to care for one another. And we need to support one another. Thank you.
This is hard. It's just really hard. I don't know when I got to sleep last night. I just know that when I woke up, I didn't know what day it was. Because this is our city. This is our home. This is our village. It's our Lua village. A wonderfully close-knit community where we truly know everybody. Where when I was in the operating room today with the brave doctors and nurses, they talked about knowing the people they were trying to save. You are 1 degree of separation from everybody in this town. We ask you what school you went to, we all know we mean high school. That closeness makes this hard. It makes it hurt. And in the fog of our grief here together, the only comfort is that closeness will be the fabric we weave together to stay strong. 5 innocent lives were taken Monday at Old National Bank. Deana Eckert, her daughter told me that she and her brother always knew they were loved. Her mom was the kindest person they'd ever met, and she positively impacted every single person she touched. Josh Barrick, just a few years younger than I am, a Louisville kid. His wife Jessica told me that he is the center of their family. He leaves behind his wife and 2 small elementary school children who have to deal with this tragedy. We will be there for them. James Tutt, a husband, a father, a grandfather, a community leader, someone who was so proud of his entire family and who they were proud of as well. Juliana Farmer, her mom, Miss Bard, is here with us tonight. Miss Bard was quick to tell me her daughter was kind, she was intelligent, she raised her kids on her own. She was recruited to come back here just a few weeks ago to work at Old National Bank again because they wanted her. She had a pure heart. She cared. Her mom, a Christian woman, said, "I know my child died happy." The first part of that sentence is something no parent should ever have to say. And I remember my friend Tommy Elliot, someone I've known for a long time, a guy who loved life. A guy, because Louisville is the small town we know it to be, my wife worked with his wife. A guy who was a friend because, you know what? As much as he liked to mix it up, if Tommy told you he was for you and he meant it. We're gonna miss Tommy. I've got to mention a few words about Officer Wilt, who bravely ran into the line of fire. I met with his family yesterday in the hospital. He is still in intensive care. His mom had just seen the body camera footage, and she said, "I was looking at his hands to see if he was scared. They never shook. And that's my child. Whenever anybody was in trouble, he ran to help them." We're also praying for Siobhan Moore, a young man who tragically died minutes later in a separate part of town, a 24-year-old taken from us too soon. This is hard. It's going to be hard. We are hurting, and we're gonna hurt for a while. And as hard as it is to read the names of the 6 people we lost Monday, we would have lost more if it weren't for the brave actions of Officer Wilt, Officer Galloway, the Louisville Metro Police Department, all of the first responders, the doctors, the nurses, the caretakers, the state and local leaders who helped make sure that more lives weren't lost that day. Thank you. You saved lives. Louisville, this is hard. We are bent, but we are not broken. We are strong. We will get through this together. We will hold each other up. We will remember and honor the lives of those lost for years to come.
The next three voices of reflect and remembrance you're going to hear from will be our Archbishop Shelton Favre of the Archbishop of Louisville. Then we will be hearing from Senator Gerald Neal, whose district we have gathered in this evening from the Kentucky State Senate. And the third voice at this time will be from Marcus Winkler, Councilman, President of the Louisville Metro Council. Archbishop.
My dear friends in Christ, I invite you just to listen for one moment. And what you hear is the language of grief and suffering. A language that we do not like, but a language that in so many ways imposes itself upon us. It's a language without words, but its presence is known. The language of grief and suffering. A language that is screaming right now in the lives of those who lost loved ones. A language that is screaming right now in our beloved city of Louisville. A language that we are all hearing. And a language that comes at us with the lie that there is no hope and that you face all of this alone. Hear the language of grief and suffering. But do not give in to the language of grief and suffering, because born of that is the language of hope and promise. Born of that is the language that drives us to learn lessons and to make differences and to love as we are called to love. The language of grief and suffering will be around for a while. But very soon, because of our care for one another, because of who we are and what we believe in, and what we do when we come together to solve problems, may the language of hope be born amongst us, a response to that which we hear now, a language of hope that will silence the language of grief and the language of suffering. A language spoken by the one who journeys through this with us, the living and true God, who walks with us and strengthens us and, yes, comforts us at this time. And he whispers to us the beginnings of that language of hope. As we continue to hear the language of grief and suffering, as it yells at us right now, may we not give in to its deception that there is no hope and that there is nothing that we can do. Let us hold on and hold on together until the language of hope is born amongst us, and that language speaks loudly in our lives, in our communities, and in our hearts. Amen.
I want to thank our governor, our mayor, our congressman, all the leaders that have served us well, our community leaders, my dedicated colleagues in the General Assembly, our spiritual leaders. I also want to thank our Louisville community and the millions of people across the state and the nation who are standing with us at this moment of shock and grief, who are sending their words of love and support, who are helping our community bear this terrible burden in our hearts. The events on Monday were truly a shock to the conscience and to the soul of this city. And as we reflect on these horrific acts, I want all of the families and friends of those we lost, along with all the survivors, to know that our nation is with you. Our hearts are aching with yours. You are not alone. These sorts of senseless acts have and, heaven forbid, will take place across our nation. It includes mass shootings, single acts of vengeance, to guns that are not safely secured. This is a wide-ranging reality. Gun violence comes in many forms. I shut my eyes and ask myself, why haven't we done more? Why haven't we done more? This makes no sense. The truth is, these events are foreseeable. As painful and shocking as the news was on Monday morning, tragically, it wasn't out of the ordinary. And the lesson I glean, the perspective I find, is that it is time for all of us to do more. Yes, we must pray. Yes, we must reflect. But yes, we must act. I'm certain it's possible because we are all suffering together. We have come together. We all know things must change. We must turn this moment of sadness into a resolve for concrete action. So let's start from the common ground, that common space of grief and humanity. And let's be deliberate about coming together and protecting the safety of our community from this plague of gun violence that is gripping our country, our children, our schools, our homes, our workplaces, our churches. Are we so entrenched in politics and ideology that we can't take a stand to protect those places? Those people we care about most? I know we can do this because we've done it before. And I know there is a desire to find solutions on all sides of this issue. There can be no division on the issue of safety. We call for everyone of goodwill, from policymakers to neighborhood residents, to have open, honest, and serious, sustained discussions with a commitment to take effective action. To do less is unacceptable. Make no mistake, this is the time to act. This is a time to come together with something decisive and significant. And I hope and pray that everyone will join us in that effort. Thank you.
Good evening. On behalf of my colleagues on Metro Council, many of whom are with us this evening, I want to thank you all for coming tonight to remember those that we lost and to begin the path towards healing. As I prepared to speak tonight, I struggled to come up with what to say. What words can one offer